Up TV.
A very warm welcome to Food Thursday right here on Look Up TV. Now, the demand for healthy food across the globe is increasing. And according to the Food and Agriculture Organization, promoting a healthy lifestyle and diet will go a long way into fighting non-communicable diseases. Today in the program, we are talking about healthy food, farming for healthy living. And to discuss this issue further, with me on set is Russos Demis Odhiambo.
Right.
Who is a snail and mushroom farmer.
Mushrooms, yes.
And of course, on the other end, Susan Mwende Mwangangi, a nutritionist. Karibuni sana.
Thank you.
And now we're talking about farming for healthy living. Like, we have always been farming.
Sure.
You know, we know that our parents probably farm maize or sugarcane. So farming is one of the sectors that increase the GDP of the Kenyan economy. But then we are farming for healthy living. So then it's different. You are a snail and mushroom farmer. Why did you pick that sector?
Okay. We do indoor kind of farming, snail, mushrooms, and even other kinds of farming. The reason why I did this is I started doing the farming while I was in campus. And I was in campus in the city. So I wanted something that is flexible with my timelines. I can't do the farming as a side hustle. At the same time, I can attend classes. So that is when now I decided to venture into something that can be done indoor. And that is how I decided to choose on the two.
So you started farming when you were in school?
Yes.
That is very different from the life of a campus youth.
Yes.
Because most people, farming is least preferred, I would say. So how was it for you at that time? Were you unpopular?
Oh, no. What happened is I've done IT at Mount Kenya University. So when we were starting off from the very first time in the first year, we used to be told all the time that IT is something that changes every second. So it is your responsibility as a learner to practice what you learn. Mm-hmm. So from there, we started a company, 5 of us from Mount Kenya University. We started Zigweb, and then we were to do software products and also hardware IT. So from that company, we got some job, and the job we got was with an agricultural research organization. So they have a program like, a plant clinic. It's just like an hospital for plants. So there you get experts and the farmer gets help with their crop. Mm-hmm. So they do a lot of research, and there were so much data. So when we were now feeding this data and generating reports, I now landed something about mushroom. I'm like, this is something that just grows on the wild. How comes this guy grows it? Where is even the seeds? So that curiosity, I started doing some little research, and I realized it's actually done. And that is when now I decided to venture into that kind of field. It is true that agriculture is a looked down kind of profession, especially among the youths.
Young people.
Because even
they don't to quote unquote get dirty. When you think of agriculture, you think of touching the soil. So, and you're like, you'd rather.
Yeah, I would actually shock those who think that way, that agriculture has changed. The world has also changed. Now we're getting into a season whereby people are doing what we call industrial farming. So for so long, there has been industries. There are industrial areas where there's a lot of manufacturing going on and all that. But agriculture was left behind. But now is when we're getting into the industrial farming, whereby nowadays people farm indoors. There is hydroponics, aeroponics, aquaponics. So you don't really need to get dirty to farm. You can do any kind of farming indoor. You can farm vegetables, you can farm even fruits inside your house without no soil while doing the farming. So everything has changed, and technology is changing everything. We have what we call smart farms, which is one of the projects we're also working on. It's a smart garden that uses the fourth industrial technologies like artificial intelligence. This is a farm inside your house. If you travel to wherever you might be, it is automatic. If the temperature goes to a certain level, it does something that is programmed to it.
And
It's self-watering and all that.
We'll be coming to that shortly when we talk about the trends in farming. So I will bring you in, Ms. Mwangangi. So you are a nutritionist, and now that people are moving, the world has a demand for more healthy food, even organic food. So what does that mean for us health-wise?
Health-wise, like for the mushroom and snail farming, they are very nutritious. Like for mushrooms, they are rich in protein, so they can substitute the meat, the other meat, the red meat. You know, the red meat can cause cancer, arthritis, hypertension. You see, so for the organic farming, it's very important because they don't use chemicals, the pesticides, yeah. And now when it comes to snails, if let's say they are very free in fat, free in carbohydrates, for those who want to look at their weight, the overweight, the health fats, for the heart, the cardiovascular diseases, and even for diabetes, and even for some cancers, prostate cancer, breast cancer. Food is preventing those. But now, for the mushrooms, some are toxic. So you should look for.
And he will be telling us the kind of mushroom that he grows.
Yeah.
So we make sure they're not toxic.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because when you pick the wild ones, some are toxic. So you should look for a reliable farmer. The one who knows everything about the mushrooms, the ones which are not toxic.
So then look for an expert.
Yes.
Okay. So then, Drusus, you will be telling us what type of mushrooms do you grow? Because I know that we have different species, different types. And like Mwangangi said, there are poisonous ones. So we'd like to know which ones do you grow?
Well, it's true. There are so many types of mushrooms, over 2,000 types. For us at Mushroom Kenya, we grow 3 types of mushroom: button mushrooms, oyster mushrooms, and we are now growing reishi mushrooms. So it is true they are edible and they are non-edible. And for clarification, both of them are farmed, even the poisonous one, but for different for different reasons.
Yeah.
So
Not for consumption.
Not for consumption. For making, like, you've ever wondered where, for example, where does poisons like rat and rat come from? So it's from a poisonous substance to a product. So for us, we grow those 3 varieties which are not poisonous, and mostly the spawn or the seed is made in the lab, so it's really verified. But the ones from the wild, you have to take it to a lab, to a mycologist, to verify what type it is. Yes.
And I know the more popular mushrooms in Kenya are button and oyster.
True.
Yeah, so take us maybe through the process, how you started farming mushrooms.
Okay, it's true. Button is globally #1 type of mushrooms. Oyster, in some parts it's popular, but some parts it's not. In Kenya, it's #2. So, well, mushroom is something that is done indoor. So for you to get started in mushroom, the first thing is you have to think of is a structure. There are different kind of structures you can use. You can use like a stone house, a greenhouse, a mud house, even an underground house. You realize that most farmers in Kenya, because we are not high tech, most of them are using mud houses. And there's a reason for that. 2 reasons. One, it's a bit cheaper and semi-permanent, especially if you're doing it in the city on a land that is not yours. But then 2, it is easier to manage for a farmer who doesn't have resources to invest into a high-tech farm. So for example, one of the things we need while growing the mushroom is the temperatures need to be low. In a mud house, if you water it, it remains cool for a very longer time than, for example, a stone house that you might need to water maybe morning, evening. So, with a mud house, the amount of work is reduced. So you need a structure. Once you get a structure, then you go to decide which type of mushroom are you going to grow, because each type is grown differently. Each type has a different seed, it has a different soil, it has a different procedure.
And does this mean that with the mushrooms, favorable climate conditions, or you can actually grow it anywhere?
Yeah, you can actually grow it anywhere because you're growing it indoor. The only thing is it's easier to grow it in a certain place than a certain place. Let's say it's easier to grow button mushroom in Nairobi than it is to grow in Mombasa, but it can still grow in Mombasa. But somebody in Mombasa must invest a little more, like maybe the AC to bring the temperatures down. So that is the only difference, but it can literally grow anywhere.
Okay. And Ms. Mugange, in the preparation of mushrooms, we have been culprits, that's what we've been called, of overcooking our food. So we want to know, when you're preparing mushroom, which is very nutritious, very high in protein, how long should it cook?
For mushrooms, you should not overcook. When you prepare the mushrooms, cooking is about 15 minutes or less. Because when you overcook, you destroy the nutrients, the protein and the vitamins, the antioxidants. Mushrooms are again rich in antioxidants. Antioxidants prevent the free radicals from attacking the cells. So the antioxidants will prevent you from getting cancer. But when you overcook the mushrooms, you will destroy the antioxidants. For example, an antioxidant is selenium in mushrooms. So when you overcook, you destroy the selenium in the mushrooms. So the mushroom will not be of benefit to you health-wise. You will eat, you will get full. And again, mushroom is rich in fiber. So when you overcook the mushrooms, the fiber will not help again. Yeah.
True. So, and in terms of consumption, then, so what can we eat mushrooms with? Anything ugali? You see, they have different nutrients, so it's more wholesome.
Yeah, you can eat mushrooms with ugali, rice. You can serve it with mashed potatoes, mashed matoke, because mushrooms will serve the purpose of proteins, but you will have to include your vegetables for your
balanced diet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, Rufus, we would want to know, is it profitable? Is growing mushrooms profitable?
Yes, growing mushrooms is really profitable. But what most farmers need to know, from the experience that I have, I've done mushrooms for 7 years now.
It's a long time.
Yes, it is profitable, but you must be ready to get your hands dirty and follow the process, because it's a bit sensitive kind of crop. So the farmer has to go on a very disciplined kind of path to actually produce and ensure that you get the maximum production from your crop.
Okay, so and what is the market? Is there like a large market here in the country? Do people consume mushrooms much?
Yeah, it's true. There's a very big market in the country. Unfortunately, we don't exactly know what it is, which I think is a failure on our side. There's a survey that was done long time ago by KEFIS, and it was stating that the demand was 1,200 tons against 500 tons supply, but that was 8 years ago, which is absolutely obsolete data at the moment. But what we can say is there's still a lot of demand. That data still has some relevance in the sense that the demand is still high, the production is still low, and there's the market is really big, because for our industry, you will realize even the Kenyan farmers are crying because the market is from the mushrooms are exported into the country.
Yeah.
There's a company that used to export 1 ton 4 days in a week here in the country. So you can see the deficit that is there. So the market is really big.
Okay, but you know, in most houses, when people are cooking food for lunch and supper, and even in our markets, mushrooms is not very popular in the market. So I would really want to understand the kind of people who come. Are they like people from certain regions who consume, who purchase mushrooms?
Okay, one of the reasons why mushroom is not very popular, one is the cost, because a kilo goes for, let's say, 800 shillings to 1,000 shillings. So that cuts the community structure, cuts some people out, because they're like, you know, that is 2 kilos of nyama. That is what most people say.
And that's
So the
what
cost.
we need. That's what you say.
So the cost, and then 2 is the availability. You will realize that because it is something that is perishable, most farms are in urban or peri-urban kind of setup, whereby you can reach the market in the shortest time possible. So that means there are some areas you will not get the mushrooms, simply because maybe the farmers are concentrating on easy access to the market. But there are some areas you are not able to sell because the price, the market perceives it as a high price. So most clients that are consuming mushrooms are, one, people who are health conscious, like the vegetarians, not from a specific community, but of course there are specific communities that consume more, like the Asians. They don't do meat, so mushroom is their meat. So the consumption among the Asians is high, but mostly it's among health conscious Kenyans who are trying to be very careful with their diet and what they eat. Yes.
Yes, and that's why I'll bring you in, Ms. Mungange. And mushrooms, very popular with vegetarians and also vegans. So that is a new trend for vegans and vegetarians. So then are we supposed to say no completely to meat and meat products and use mushrooms as an alternative?
Yeah, for vegetarians and vegans, mushroom is right for their protein source. But for the other people who consume meat, they can consume meat but in moderation. And now they include the mushrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you talk about meat, you're talking about meat in general or specifically red meat?
Not really. They can consume all types of proteins.
Okay.
We have plant proteins and animal proteins. We have the seafoods, like fish, snails, robustas, those.
Yes, all
For
that.
the plant proteins, they have proteins, but the protein value is low. So they need the meat.
Okay.
Yeah. But now for the vegans and
Vegetarians.
the vegetarians, they can consume mushroom with no problem because it is rich. Mushrooms are very rich in protein and healthy protein.
Okay, so the protein in mushrooms is just as good as the one we get from meat.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so it can be a total substitute or an alternative. Okay, so Basawa. So and the large scale farming of mushrooms in the country, you produce mushroom small scale or large scale?
Our scale is not really small, but it's not really large.
It's somewhere in between.
2.4 tons in 3 months
Okay.
is in between. But 80% of the farmers in the country are small scale farmers for different reasons. For a very long time, we've had small scale farming. It's now that there are few farms that are coming up that are focusing on the large scale farming. So most people have been small scale one because of the cost. Mushroom is a bit expensive to start. For example, if you are to start it, just building a house alone, you're talking of 150,000 plus, and maybe the farmer doesn't have that kind of financial muscle
yeah.
to do that. So that really keeps more people away. And then most of the other things are also costly, from the seeds. Most of them are imported, so it becomes a bit expensive, the labor and all that. So that is why most people just start in a scale they can, and then gradually advance.
But if we see then it can grow even in the wild, then why would it be so expensive?
Oh yeah, it's true. It can grow anywhere,
yes.
or even outside, if you are able to balance the conditions. But the thing is, for example, if you do it on a small scale, it's not actually feasible. And that is why you will find most people, for example, I will tell you, if you were to buy the seeds, they imported in 15-liter bags.
Okay.
And that is around from 12,000 to 15,000. So mostly it will be very difficult to get 1 kilo to do in your setup. Again, if you're to prepare the soil for button, let's say, the shortest time you can do it is 21 days. The longest is 35 days.
Okay.
So if you want to do something small, let's say we use wheat straw to do that. So using 1 or 2 or 3 wheat straw and you wait for 1 month doesn't make more sense. You better use, let's say, 50 or 100 and you wait for the 1 month. So that is why you find there must be at least a feasible scale that you can really start on. Not unless if you are doing, let's say, for consumption, maybe family consumption, then you can get, let's say, ready kits from the farmers. Yes. Okay,
so then now we understand if a kilo is expensive, then we know that there's a lot of work behind it that makes it that much. So are there any challenges in terms of farming of mushrooms?
Most definitely there is. There's so many challenges that also comes with mushroom farming. Most people anticipate market as the challenge, but it's just a small part of it. So one of the challenges with mushroom farming is the knowledge, and I will say why knowledge is a challenge. One, there's so many types of mushrooms done differently, and if you choose one, then there are so many options. Let's say, for example, button as a mushroom which is grown. When it comes to the soil, there are over 100 things you can use as an option to the soil. So every time somebody use this or use this direction, it will be completely different.
Okay.
So you find now getting the right information on how you go becomes challenging. If you do verification with farmers, you now start getting conflicting information, like, this guy is harvesting 2 kilos, this guy is harvesting 1. Why? But you find there's a lot of parameters that change. So information is one of the challenges that people face, because this is very sensitive. The moment you miss with something small, you lose.
Then it becomes very detrimental.
Yes. So information is a challenge. Market access has been a challenge to farmers, not really because there is no market, but because the market needs to be organized into a way that it can absorb or sustain our farmers. I will say, for example, you get a very big restaurant, they need, let's say, 100 kilos every day, and most farmers are small scale farmers.
Yes.
So they have 10 kilos, 5 kilos. So this guy will prefer to import 100 kilos, and if one day they need 150, they are sure they will get 150.
So we can just get the large supply that they need.
The large supplier takes it all. The smaller farmer now struggles to get a share of that market.
Sure.
So in that case, the market becomes a bit of a challenge. Then the other challenge is the inputs. And in this case, we are talking of quality inputs like the spawn, which is the name for the seeds. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And we'll be taking it from there after the break. We are taking a short break here on Food Thursday, but we'll be back. Stay with us.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to views@look-up.tv. We can't wait to hear from you. Superbook, weekdays from 3:30 p.m. only on Look Up TV. Just for Laughs, weekdays from 1:30 p.m. only on Look Up TV. Superbook, weekdays from 3:30 p.m. only on Look Up TV. You're watching Look Up TV.
Welcome back. You are watching Food Thursday right here on Look Up TV, and we want you to engage with us. The SMS number is 20374. Talk to us about what you know about food, what you want us to talk about, and engage with us also on social media at Look Up TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Look Up TV on YouTube. Today on the program we are talking about farming for healthy living, and with me is Mwangangi, who is a nutritionist, and Russos, who is a farmer. And before the break we were talking about challenges of the new experience as a mushroom farmer. So you had completed that. So now we want to talk about the snails. You're a farmer of snails, and the first thing that comes to mind when we talk about snails is irritation for most people. So, and I know there's a difference between snails and slugs.
Slugs,
So
yes.
maybe just explain that to us.
Okay, true. Most of the time when you talk of snails, people immediately, shiver. Because one, they have not differentiated between a snail and a slug. So most people think of slugs as snails. So snails have shells. The slugs doesn't have shells.
Okay, so what we see when it rains, the mucus,
Those ones are slugs.
Those are slugs.
Those are not snails.
Okay.
Snails have shells. So in Kenya there are two different types of snails. There is what we call giant African land snail, and then there is the garden snail. They're almost the same in makeup. The only difference comes in their habitat.
Okay.
The giant does well in warm climates, but the garden does well in cold climates.
Okay.
Yes.
So the ones that you rear are?
Giant African land snail.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and what is it like to rear snails? How do you even contain them?
Well, cool. Rearing snails is one of the simplest things you can do. Even babies can do it. One thing is most people have the snail phobia, but it's something that once you interact with the snails, it just gets away with time.
I've seen people touching them. And
Yes, people, even for your information, let's say this what we call snail therapy. in advanced countries like Japan, you go into a spa and then the snails are put on your skin, it walks, and as it moves it leaves the mucus, which is really good in repairing the skin. Yes, so they are very, very silent beings. They're harmless, and they're things you can do at the comfort of your home, so it's really something so easy to do. It doesn't take much of your time, it's less costly even to do, and it's simple to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, Ms. Mungange, we have grown up eating fish, so snails is a whole new trend. And we know it's popular in the West, in countries like Japan, China, but it has not been a delicacy here. We are very conventional when it comes to our food, but now we have started embracing the different ways of eating food and the many options that are there. So snails.
No, when it comes to snails, people will have that notion that they are yuckish. They would want something which has been there from before. So it's a matter of educating people the importance and the benefits of the snails. Yeah, the benefits outweigh the yuckish thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
so the good outweighs the bad,
Yes,
which is just the irritation.
True.
Okay.
So you should educate people how to go about it. And again, snails should not be consumed raw because they are poisonous. Because of when you consume raw snails, there are those worms that grow in your
Okay.
intestines. So it's not
So we have to
you
cook.
and not undercook.
Okay.
In mushrooms, we said we should not overcook.
Yeah, you actually said
When we come
at
to
most
snails-
15 minutes.
Yes. When you come to snails, you cook thoroughly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by thoroughly, do you have a time frame?
Like 30 minutes, 1 hour.
Okay.
Yeah, with high heat. Yes. Then preparation when it comes to fats, because they are fat themselves, but their fat is health.
The good
The
fats.
good fats, the omega-3s. So you should not cook with a lot of fat. Just the vegetable oil, very little. Yes.
Okay, and so the nutritional value.
Yeah.
You can talk to us
Snails
about
are
that.
rich in protein also, so they can substitute the other protein from the red meat and the rest. So when you cook snails, you don't need to cook other protein. Yeah, they are also rich in vitamins, B vitamins, and the fat soluble vitamins.
Okay.
Yes.
And now in the preparation, should it just be boiled? Are there different ways of making snails?
Okay. The best way to cook the snails is to fry or deep fry.
Okay.
But when you deep fry, this means you will cook with a lot of fat. But shallow frying, you can do it with very little, minimal fat. Yeah.
Okay. So what is the cost of starting the snail farming?
Oh, the cost of starting snail farming
Yes.
is very less. If you're in Kenya, one of the requirements you need is a KWS certification, because snails are invasive. So until they are sure that you're going to take care well of them so that they don't invade maybe the neighboring
The
farm.
neighbors.
Yeah, so that is around 1500 from KWS. Then you need the parent stock, which depends, maybe 15,000, and the structure. So if you have something, let's say 40,000 to 50,000, you're already good to go with the snails.
Okay, and where do you get snails to start off?
Well, getting the snails to start off, you have to get from a certified farmer.
Okay.
So if you go, you can get a certified farmer that you have, or you go to KWS, they can refer you to a certified farmer around where you want to do it, and then you get the parent stock from there.
Okay, so then you have started with a few. So do you need both genders? How do you go about it?
Oh, that's a bit funny. The snails are what we call heterotypes. They have both the male and the female organs. So if you look at the snails, they have two antennas. One is male, one is female. So one snail can mate and lay eggs. So you don't need this gender or this gender. Although they can cross mate, one snail with another snail, but they have both genders, so they can still.
So how many did you have just to start with?
Well, while starting out, I started on a simple scale. I just started with the 50. Then, to learn and also watch and how it is to rear them. Because one of the challenge I had in the beginning is getting information on how to rear it.
Okay.
Because this is something so new. And the only person who was doing it then was Rosemary Odinga. But then, reaching her and all that became a problem. So while starting off, we got a farmer from Uganda who was trying to now help us. So we started with small scale, 50. Right now we have like 7,000. Yes.
And when you get them, then do you get them when they're small, when they are mature?
Well, you can get all sizes, from small ones to big ones. It is advisable that you actually get both sizes so that at all times you have them. When the ones that are ready for market, you can expose them, while you still also have other ages that are also coming. Yeah.
Okay, and the market again is a big question. I don't see snails in a lot of our supermarkets. So what is the market?
It's true. This is one of the gray areas for most people who want to invest into the snail farming, because they can ideally not conceive where the market is, but there is a lot of marketing in the country actually. But it is on for a specific group of people, mostly the expatriates, like the Chinese. We have a lot of them in Nairobi. We have the West Africans, like the Nigerians. From doing snails, I actually even interacted with most of them and even started learning part of their language. And other expatriates like Italy, the French guys, they eat. So it's still an expatriate thing for now. It's very difficult to find a Kenyan consuming snails, not unless they have been to another country.
And then one, I don't know if it's a misconception, but it is regarded as it's an acquired taste. So when you become high-end, then you start developing new taste buds for different things. Do you see it like that, or is it something that is actually nice on the palate?
Yeah, it's true. You eat
it yourself?
Yeah, I eat myself. That is a question I get most of the time when I interact with people. Do you eat? Yes, I have eaten. And it just tastes like any other kind of meat. So it's not a matter of you must have a different taste bud or something to actually consume it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and Miss Mungangi, then the snail comes with a shell. So when we are preparing it, how do we go about it?
So the shell should be removed because it is hard. It cannot cook, of course. Yeah. You remove the shell, then you soak the snails in cold water with lime. Then you cook your snails. You can grill, you can fry, you can roast. Yeah.
Okay, and what is the purpose of the lime?
The lime will help to retain the nutrients.
Okay.
Yeah, they will not go with heat. Yeah.
Okay, so then the removal of that shell is, do you do it physically? Do you do it with a knife?
Personally, I've not done it, but it's used the knives.
So then, Ruth, as you consume
Yeah.
snails, then you tell us.
It's true, it's true. Now I even know how to cook them. Before I didn't know. So what happens is, if you want to consume the snails, once we give you the live snails, what you do is you will put them in warm water with salt. So, mostly the snails will get inside the shell. So the salt is going to detach it from the shell, and then you take something like a fork and just remove remove the meat, and then you cook. You can now go on with the cooking process.
Okay, so when you're doing that, is the snail still alive? When you're removing the shell?
When you're removing the shell, the snail is already dead because you've dipped it in hot water.
Okay, in hot water and the salt.
Yes.
Okay, how it looks like something people have a difficulty in doing.
Oh, of course.
Putting on live. I know even like dealing with crabs.
Yes.
There you have to dip it in hot water.
Yeah.
So for some people they're like, it's a bit difficult to do.
Yes.
Okay, and then now let's just talk about, you've talked about the market and said that it is not very popular. So then, is it profitable if there's no really a big, wide market for it?
Yeah, it is profitable in the sense that now people are really changing their eating habits and lifestyle, and it's thank God to technology. People are now able to access information like the benefits of such things, and even how you can go the whole process of preparing and all that. So that is really changing a lot of things. For now, the market is a specific one, but it grows every single day. I know my friends now who have tasted snails. They're not West Africans, they are not Italians, but by the notion that it is something that is beneficial and other people have eaten,
now we have.
Yes, the exposure that increases like the market of it. So, and in terms of profitability, it is profitable in the sense that it's a bit cheaper to do, but then they reproduce very fast. One snail can lay 80 to 120 eggs in 4 months. So which means if you have 10 and each lay 80, you have like 800, and one full grown snail can weigh around 120 grams. So which means literally 8 to 10 of them can make a kilo. A kilo right now sells between 1,500 to 4,000 depending on who you sell to and where and maybe the size.
So it actually is very profitable.
Yes.
Okay, and now that the Kenyan population, the locals are buying into the idea of snails, so then in the coming years, then it will be a very good business.
Sure.
Yeah. And now what is the support from the government? Maybe if you can talk about it for the unconventional farming.
Okay, well, the government is actually also trying to promote such unconventional things through policies and such kind of regulations. For example, let's say the snail thing. Information bit has been a bit of a challenge, and the government bodies that are mandated to do that, like let's say the KWS, they're on the forefront on trying to help you get the relevant certification, and even information on how you can give some standards, like even if you were to do an export, of course there are export standards and all that. So I think information bit of it is one of the major support from the government for people who are starting off in such unconventional farming.
Okay, and maybe if you can just talk generally, is healthier living one of the reasons why you started farming the mushrooms and the snails?
Yeah, sure. Just the same way I've said, people are now changing their eating habits to healthier lifestyles, and people are now looking for things they can trace maybe how they are done. If you take, for example, with mushrooms, we don't use chemicals while doing the farming.
Okay.
One reason is once mushrooms start coming out, they grow within hours. you harvest literally every day, so there's no time. You actually have to spray some chemicals to control. So for us, it's more of preventive than
Okay.
waiting for it to happen, because if it happens, you've already lost. You're told remove that one. So people trust that this is produced organically. And even these other things like snail, what chemical would you use again? So it's inspired by the market demand for healthier foods,
Yeah.
mainly organic farming, that inspired me to also enter into these other kinds of things.
Yeah, and Ms. Mugangi, we have seen the change. Like a good number of people are now embracing a healthier lifestyle, healthier diet. And as I had said when I started, the FAO, the Food Agriculture Organization, has said that if people then embrace healthier lifestyle and healthier diets, then would go a long way into preventing non-communicable diseases. But we still have a lot of junk food that is sold. We have fast food places, and even with the way we prepare our food, there's a lot of deep frying. So what is your advice?
So, people should embrace the good nutrition, because in future, nutrition replaced medicine. Junk food can be eaten occasionally, but not every day. Like, for instance, when a mother is pregnant, you should start there. You teach the mother about healthy living, healthy eating. There are those cravings for pregnant women. What you eat will affect your baby, and that is what you will get as an outcome. Because nowadays people are lazy, they don't want to cook, they don't want to spend time in the kitchen, they want foods that are already prepared. But cooking your food is very important. You don't need to eat junk every day. You can carry your packed lunch, your breakfast.
I carry my packed lunch.
Me too. That's good, because you will avoid junk. You don't want to stay hungry. You want to eat, but you have nothing to eat. So you will go for the food which is available. But to avoid that, you can carry your food and your fruit.
Okay.
And then again, when now the child is born and the mother comes to the clinics, now it's very important to teach the mothers about what to introduce as weaning
Okay.
and complementary feeding. Because when you don't teach the mother, they will start whatever they know. And some think they know, but they don't. Whatever they used to eat.
Yeah, however, they were socialized, so they
Yeah.
just carry it forward.
Yeah. So to get a better generation, we start from embracing nutrition, and we make use of the nutritionists.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, many people will argue that you come to work, or maybe when you're going home, then you're stuck in traffic for 2 hours. So when you get to the house, you're so beat. All you want is grab anything that you see and then sleep.
Order.
Or you, yes, exactly. Or you order. There are so many apps, so many places that you could order from. So again, the question would be, how fast can you prepare food if we really want to embrace healthy eating?
Like for vegetables, you can do them at around 5 minutes. You prepare your vegetables and you stir fry, and you make your ugali or some bananas. Like rice cooks very fast. You can prepare your food within 30 minutes. Or maybe you can say, I don't have the fuel, I'm going to use a jiko, which will take longer time.
Yeah.
But that is not an excuse. The best way to go about it is to prepare yourself. Even if you are going to be late from work, you should be prepared. You can have some fruits before preparing your food. That will sustain you until your food is ready.
Okay.
So you don't have to call and global, bring some food.
A quick fix.
Yes,
Okay.
that's not healthy. Yeah.
And
But we don't say that they close the restaurants or they stop preparing those junk foods.
Yeah.
Because you can take them occasionally, but not always.
So then moderation is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to completely cut off everything that is deemed toxic, but we can control how we take it. Okay.
There are these people who like junk. Somebody cannot go without chips and those cocoa.
Yes.
So you can seek professional help. That's why I'm saying you use the nutritionists.
Okay.
Yeah, our dietitians. Yeah, very important. If you feel like the urge to eat the junk food is beyond, you can go seek a professional.
To guide you on now how you can consume your food. Okay, and very shortly, you can tell us about any other ways or any other crops that you farm for healthy living.
Okay, great. As I mentioned, we are trying to focus so much on indoor farming, but we also very much focused on high value crops. So like right now, one of the things we are growing is microgreens. Microgreens are any type of crops, let's say vegetables, but they are consumed immediately they sprout. So sometimes people call them sprouts, and it is said that from the research that has been done that it is 3 times nutritious at that stage than later stage.
Okay.
So we're also doing the microgreens. We're doing crickets. We're doing black soldier fly, but that is for animals like poultry, fish, pig. Yeah, so that is all about Demi Farm, what we do at Demi Farm.
Okay, and thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of the discussion. Yes, we have come to the end of Food Thursday, and what we can take home is that we should be intentional about what we farm and what we consume in our diets and how we choose to live in terms of our lifestyle. That is it from us here. With me today was Susan Mongange, who is a nutritionist, and Rusas, who is a mushroom and snail farmer. From my very able panelist and from me, Nancy Nalima, thank you for watching.
Worldwide, worldwide.